The Wisest Woman in the World, Chapter 3, Love. My husband is unlovable, I declared firmly. I have done my best to love him with all my heart, but he won't accept my love. Now our marriage is about to end in divorce. What looked like an all-knowing smile appeared on the face of the old woman. Every man wants to love and be loved. The greatest desire in the heart of a man is to be truly loved and admired by a woman, she said quietly. Not George, my husband. The word love means nothing to him. He doesn't care about love. All he wants is a woman who will sheepishly follow his instructions. The old woman stared at me for a while. There was a sparkle in her brown eyes. Do you sheepishly follow his instructions? She asked me. I don't, I said vehemently. That's why you have a house of crisis. But Grandma, I am not his slave girl. I am his wife. Both of us are supposed to be equal partners in the business of marriage, equal partners in the business of marriage, as in. The old woman was amazed. When did marriage become a business? Well, I said hesitatingly. I should have used the word institution rather than business. Esin thought for a while. Her old wrinkled face betrayed no emotions. They seemed blank. In our days, we were not taught that we were equal to our husbands. We were taught that we were loyal servants who must do whatever our husbands wanted us to do and at the time they wanted it. Recollecting the words of Gladys, I said, but the world has gone a long way since your days as a spinster. The way of thinking of your time is now past. The modern woman strives side by side with her husband. Is that why there is so much strife too? It is the fault of men like my husband, instead of embracing the modern way of life. They tend to loiter in the orientation of the past when men saw themselves as kings and lords over their household. Esin nodded her head, but I knew that it was not an agreement to what I said. Rather, my words were confirmation to what she already knew or suspected. Both of us were silent for a long time. I believe your husband is a wonderful man, she said. I was shocked by Esin's statement. How could she say such a thing after all I had told her about George? I fought hard to control the rising anger in me. George is a brute, a big bully, a wild animal. He is the most cruel man I have ever known. I replied forcefully. The words shot out of my mouth like bullets. This old woman didn't know anything about George. I knew George. I knew his secret longings, his weaknesses, his wickedness. I had lived with him for 6 years. I had borne him 3 children. But it had been 6 years of regret. If your husband is a wild animal, tame him. Wild animals can be tamed, she said. I have done my best, I said, wringing my hands in resignation. I have done my best, Grandma, but George will not be tamed. Esin shook her head in disagreement. Then a smile spread on the old wrinkled face. I waited for her to say something, but she didn't. What hurts me most is that George calls me Nwamusu, daughter of a witch. George knows the story of my life. He knows that my mother died the day I was born, yet he kept referring to her as a witch. I sighed profoundly, trying to control the tears that were beginning to form in my eyes. George has made me believe that Charles Darwin was wrong when he said that human beings evolved from apes. He should have said wild beasts. Who was Charles Darwin? Asked Esin. I recollected that I was talking to Esin, the oldest woman in my village. Esin did not go to school. She could neither read nor write. She did not know about Charles Darwin, Albert Einstein, and Isaac Newton. Esin did not know about Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. She had not heard of Alexander the Great, Napoleon Bonaparte, Winston Churchill, Abraham Lincoln. I would not be surprised if Grandma had not even heard of Nnamdi Azikiwe, Obafemi, Awolowo, and Ahmadu Bello. I said, Charles Darwin said that human beings evolved from apes. In other words, monkeys, gorillas, and chimpanzees are our forefathers. Esin laughed. This could be the most stupid thing anybody had ever told her. So you think your husband is an ape? He is worse than an ape, George. I can only compare him to a snake. So you are the wife of a snake? She asked me. Her old wrinkled face was devoid of any emotion, her brown eyes peering steadily at me. I am suffering. Grandma, I said, why did you marry him? I don't know. Grandma, I said sadly, I don't know what tempted me to marry that devil. My voice was laden with emotion. I tried to control myself. I didn't want to break down to tears before Grandma. "Now, I can understand why your husband cannot love you," she said, nodding her head gently. "Please, Grandma, tell me." I was eager to hear her confirm what I already know. George could not love me because he was wicked. But Essen shocked me with these words. "It is because you don't love him." "I love him," I protested. "It is George who refuses to return my love." "What does love mean to you?" Grandma asked. Her brown eyes peered steadily into my own eyes. I lowered my head and thought for a while. Didn't know what to say. In my 35 years of existing in this world of upheavals, I had never taken time to consider the meaning of love or what it personally meant to me. I thought of what to say that Grandma would not use against me, found none, and kept quiet. "When you say your husband does not love you, what really do you mean?" I could no longer keep quiet. I opened my mouth and the words flowed out. "He does not care for me. He does not respect my feelings. He does not treat me kindly. He does not appreciate all my efforts to make our marriage succeed." The old woman nodded gently. "Care, respect, kindness, and appreciation. These are the words you used. You mean then that love means care, respect, kindness, and appreciation?" I nodded my head gently, watching her closely, knowing that she would not take sides with me. "You have called your husband a snake and a wicked man. These are not kind words, are they? These are not words you use to describe someone you respect, are they? Surely when you care and appreciate someone, you won't call that person such names, would you? Not even in the person's absence." Her words hit me like a punch. I felt ashamed of myself. I had called my husband worse names even in his presence, but I knew how wicked George was. This woman didn't know. "Grandma," I protested. "George is a..." I hesitated to use the word devil that came to my mind. "He treats me and the children as if we were not human beings with feelings and personal desires. He deserves whatever names I had called him." "Feelings and personal desires," she said, and watched me closely. "When a woman's feelings and personal desires conflict with that of her husband, what should the woman do?" I did not answer immediately. I thought of what my grandmother said to me before her death. "Your husband is Lord and the owner of your life. A time will come when problems will arise because what you want is different from what he wants. A wise woman who wants peace to reign in her home will forget her own desires and surrender to that of her husband." I didn't want to think along this line anymore. Gladys said it was an outdated way of thinking and men took advantage of that to brutalize their wives. "A woman is not a thing," she had said. "A woman is not an object, a private possession that you can use as you want. The choice for a woman is to be herself, to assert her humanity. A woman should live her life, pursue her own goals and desires irrespective of what her husband wants." I agreed with Gladys. I also agreed with Christopher Morley for saying that there is only one success: to be able to live your life in your own way. I looked at Grandma and wondered whether to answer in line with the words of my grandmother or Gladys. I decided to follow Gladys. My grandmother's ideas were outdated and no longer acceptable to the modern woman. A woman should follow her own feelings and desires. A woman has the right to live her own life. She is not a man's private possession. Essen nodded gently. She had the habit of nodding to whatever I say, even though she did not agree with me. It is no wonder then that instead of having a matrimonial home, you have a house of crisis. It is all the fault of George. He is just inhuman. Essen watched me closely. Her brown eyes betrayed no emotions. "Tell me about yourself. You must be an angel from heaven." I did not miss the sarcasm, but I was not offended by it. I have my own shortcomings. I am not an angel from heaven, but I am not as wicked as George. "You are wicked," Grandma said firmly, her brown eyes gazing intently at me. "You are very wicked." Her words hit me like the sting of a bee. "Everything we say about other people is reality about ourselves," said an American poet, Merritt Malik. I chose to disagree with the poet and Essen. Stay tuned for Chapter 4 of The Wisest Woman in the World at Accusations. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.